Yes, dear student, in the last session, we have studied about how the blood can circulate through whole body through the pump of a heart that we discussed. Now, let us today in this session we will talk about blood vessels. We'll talk about blood vessels. Now, which are the blood vessels we are going to talk about? They are arteries, as you can see, veins, and capillaries. Okay, so what they carry blood. And what blood has? Blood has many things like protein, okay, digested food, WBC, RBC, platelets, plasma. It's a very, very thick liquid which is passing, okay, in our whole body, which carries oxygen and takes the carbon dioxide and passes and that out. What exactly happened? We'll talk about first artery. Now, artery are the vessels, okay. Artery is a vessel which carries blood away from heart, but obvious now away from heart it is very difficult to take it. So what does it require? It required a pressure. It requires a pressure. So heart is thrombing. You have seen the last one. What happened? The left side aorta, the ventricle get scupped. Okay, you can get a, you can say that's a squeeze over there, and then the blood oozes out and comes out from the aorta and goes to the different parts of the body. So what that they carries a blood away from the heart, and so if it is carrying away from the heart, it means they have oxygenated blood. They have oxygenated blood. What kind of blood they have? Oxygenated blood. It is not deoxygenated, but it carries oxygen along with it. Okay, now as they required a very high pressure, their walls, their walls are their walls are thick and elastic as well. Why? Because when a pressure is exerted on the walls, what happens? The walls are going to be, if it is they are not elastic, what happens? They can burst. They can burst, and that's why they are. This arteries contain the walls as a thick and elastic. Okay, so this is what about artery. Now, what a vein can do? Let's talk about a vein. So veins, what exactly happened? Now, as artery is carrying blood away from the heart, it means a vein takes blood to the heart. Is it clear? But obvious, if it is carrying blood, taking blood to the heart, it means it must be deoxygenated blood. Yes, it carries deoxygenated blood. Okay. As and when here in the vein, no blood pressure is required, no pressure is required. They do not need thick walls. So how kind of walls they have? They have a thin walls. They have a thin walls. And what happened there? The thin walls are which does not under any kind of pressure, and that's why instead of that, what they have, the blood flows in one direction. To stop coming back, they contain valves as well. They have valves. Here they do not have valves. They do not have valves. Why? Because it is under pressure, and due to the pressure the blood will flow in a one direction. So guys, this is what exactly happened. Arteries carries the blood away from the heart. This is what it is, a red one indicating it is oxygenated blood. Now this oxygenated blood goes into that part, and here the absorption takes place. As we know, there are capillaries. Capillaries are thin, very, very thin, smaller tissues, okay, smaller part of vessels which are connected to the organs. There the organs can exchange their food and blood from there. So what happens, that smaller vessels to bring the blood in contact to the individual cell. The smallest cell which have walls which are one cell thick are called capillaries, and this is what the one which is making them artery to vein. Again, there will be a bunch, or we can say what we can say, a ગુચ્છો કહેવાય જેને આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં કહીએ, kind of things where the exchange of material between blood and surrounding takes place across this thin wall. and the capillaries then again join to form vein, and this vein will carry your blood to the heart, and it contains deoxygenated what veins and valves. Valves are there by to prevent backflow of blood, to prevent backflow of blood. So this is what flow of blood. So guys, this is how the role of vessels, these three vessels in our human body. Okay, so what is that exactly? But suppose by chance there is some leakage in artery, there is some leakage in vein. What exactly happened? By chance we fell down and blood oozes out, blood comes out, and it is not getting stopped. So what are there in blood? We have one component which we called it as a platelet. What do we call them as a platelet? Platelets. Okay, these platelets are the component. What happened that the leakage would lose lead to lose of the pressure, which would reduce the efficiency of pumping system. So to avoid this, blood has this platelet cells. My dear students, this is very very important, which circulate around the blood, okay, body, and plugs this leakage. શું કરે? એ જે લીકેજ થયું હોય ને એને ત્યાં પ્લગ કરી દે. પ્લગ કેવી રીતે કરે? તો કે by clotting blood at that end, by clotting blood, by clotting blood at wherever the damage is taking place. જે બી જગ્યા પર ડેમેજ થયો હોય, બરોબર, આર્ટરીમાં કે વેનમાં, okay, artery or vein, okay, anywhere wherever the blockage is there, it's going to stop that, it's going to stop that. Okay, so vein and artery में damages जगह पर blood ने clot करे कौन? तो कि this is the role of platelets. And dear students, there was an incident takes place with Amitabh Bachchan when he was shooting for the coolie. He got injured severely and the blood was not getting out because that platelets was not working properly in his blood, and that's what's a big huge problem. But somehow he survived, and that's what the role of platelets comes over here. Now dear students, along with the blood there is one more system which is a fluid but which is colorless. We call it as a lymph. We call it as a lymph. Lymph, which is pronounced as lymph. F for lymph. Now this is the one material which contains protein, which contains protein. As we know, okay, what does it contain? Blood contains what? It contains plasma. હવે શું થાય તો કે પ્લાઝ્મા આપણે જોઈએ કે આ આર્ટરીઝ ને વેન્સ હોય ને, આર્ટરીઝ. હવે આર્ટરીઝ નું કન્સ્ટ્રક્શન આવું છે. Okay, in this construction there are some holes given over here. Oh, arteries are this. Okay, and it has certain holes over here. I would like to give you this one. Sorry. This is what they have. Here they have some space. There is some space between these two. Why is this? Now from here, as we know, this is the structure of artery. This is the structure of artery. This is what I have drawn here is a structure of artery. Okay, this is, let's say this is the structure of artery. Now what does it contain? It contains lots of things. It's like that, proteins are there, cells are there, plasma are there. Now this is what it's this is the cell. Okay, forget about that, this is the cell, and here I have certain cells around me. Okay, so what happened exactly? The plasma, the blood, this plasma oozes out over here and occupy the space around this cell, intercellular tissues. This space was occupied by this plasma, which is coming out from here. Okay, which is coming out from here. Now what does it contain? Think about it. What exactly happened? If this goes on, then what happened? This blood become thinner. This blood will become thinner. If it will become thinner, if a blood will become thinner, okay, then it will be very difficult to flow this blood to the different parts. And that's why this leaf, even they contain some of the small proteins. What they contain? They contain some of the small proteins. What exactly happened? These proteins are very useful, and this is a tissue fluid. We call it lymph as a tissue fluid, and proteins and some blood cells also escapes into the intercellular space. And now, what exactly happened? This forms this leaf, then goes to lymph vessels. Okay, then it goes to the lymph nodes. Okay, and then what exactly happened? Now, this is what we required. So the intercellular space, this is what it is, similar to the plasma of the blood, but it is colorless and has a less protein. It has less protein. Yes, it does contain a protein, but it is less. Now what exactly happened? You can see the lymph vessels are collecting this. They have a collecting. Now how they have? Now what is the difference between lymph vessel and a blood vessels? So blood vessels are open ended. On the both sides they have open ending, but when it talks about the lymph vessels, they have one ended. It is a block. It is block at one end. Now the question arises, sir, if it is blocked, then how this will goes inside? So dear students, these vessels have this kind of cell, overlapping cells, overlapping. They have overlapping kind of cell things. And once this entered, okay, this will not allow them to come back. Lymph when enters into this vessel, this is what we call as a lymph vessels. So dear students, this is how the lymph vessels work. Now when this lymph vessels goes, they contain some nodes over there. It contains some nodes. Now what is this nodes contain? If somehow unwanted material present over here, this lymph, my dear students, this node contains WBC, and you know WBC, the role of WBC act as a police. It means unwanted material ne bahar feki de, kills the bacteria, and that's what it is very helpful. And sometime you can see people are having elephantiasis. Why they have a elephantiasis? Because of the lymph that is coming out, oozing out of their celeries and sorry their capillaries. And then what happened there? Their legs get widen up, the limbs get widen up or thicken and swollen. So guys, this is what how lymph vessels help us. Now again the question comes, sir, if this comes out from the blood, then where does it go? It goes to the lymph nodes, lymph vessels. But what is that? Now this lymph vessels beta get connected back to the veins. So the whatever the material which comes out over here, due to the extra pressure, this is due to the extra pressure. This is due to the extra pressure. Now the question comes, okay, why these holes are given over here? Exactly, and this is the cell. This is the cell, dear student. Now, students, the cells require what? Oxygen. They are exchanging oxygen. They are exchanging the absorbable material. So, how they exchange? They cannot pass through the walls. They cannot go through the walls. So, there are some space where they can use it out. But when that extra fluid is there, which we call it as a lymph, and the lymph is very important for us. So, like blood plasma, it's a lymph. That lymph is a colorless fluid, which is also considered as a tissue fluid, which contains some amount of plasma and some amount of proteins and blood cells over there, which is connected to the lymph vessels. Lymph vessels convert into lymph nodes, and then lymph nodes and the vessels comes together to form a veins, and this all the lymph oozes in back into the vein, and it goes back to the heart. Okay, the blood into the blood, and then blood it will goes there. So this is what lymph carries, digested and absorbed fat. Now look at here, what exactly happened when here I have a fat material. This fat material directly cannot be absorbed into this part. So what happened? They are broken down and absorbed by the lymph. That is what in intestine. This takes place, absorb the fat from the intestine and drain the excess fluid from extracellular fluid. So this is what the capillaries, blood vessels and lymph plays a vital role in our, you know, transport system. Okay, let us see the last one which I would like to just share with you. One small kind of a picture. Right now this is the picture which I'm talking about. Look at here, this is the food which is comes along with the blood capillary. Guys, you can see here, that's a blood capillary. This is what the blood capillary. Okay, this is the blood capillary. This is the tissues. Now this is what the blood is going. Okay, this is the vein. This is particularly artery. This is artery. Okay, this blue color is vein. Okay, now this is lymphatic, green color. You can see this is lymph. Now the blood oozes out. These tissues are covered with a lymph. Now this lymph covered, you can see this is close-ended. The blood, the lymphatic arteries plays, a capillaries plays a vital role over here, and then this can comes together and give it blood to the vein. So this is how a system gets completed over here. Thank you.